You think the biggest threat to your relationship is some stranger at a bar. It's not. The real danger is sitting in her office right now, laughing with her, sharing stories, maybe even texting her after hours. That's how betrayal begins. Not with strangers, but with colleagues who slide past every defense. The cost? Your trust shattered, your confidence destroyed, and your role in her life quietly replaced. But here's the twist. She doesn't even realize how many signs she's leaving behind. And once you know what to look for, you'll never miss them again. In this video, I'll walk you through 6 clear signs she's cheating with a coworker. And at the end, I'll show you what every man must do when those signs appear. Most men imagine betrayal as something that happens far away with a stranger. The truth is, it often begins much closer, right where she spends most of her day, the workplace. Hours of collaboration, late nights on projects, even quick work, trips create an unusual kind of closeness. It doesn't look dangerous on the surface, but under pressure and repetition, bonds grow stronger than you realize. Technology makes it even easier. Messages that start professional slip into personal. A great job today turns into a late-night check-in. With instant access, those small interactions multiply quickly. And here's what you need to know. For many women, attraction isn't just physical, it's emotional. When a colleague validates her ideas, remembers the little details, or shows up during stressful moments, that bond can feel more powerful than anything material. Then comes comparison. The office is a world of status and competence, and an instinct called hypergamy. The pull toward higher value is always at play. If another man looks sharper, leads stronger, or simply seems more attentive, the pull is there. Cheating rarely starts with something obvious. It starts with micro moments, smiles, inside jokes, attention given where it doesn't belong. That's why you need to recognize the early red flags before they stack into something undeniable. And let's start with the first sign. Number 1. She suddenly changes her appearance. A woman who has gone years dressing in a steady, predictable way does not wake up one morning and decide to reinvent her entire look for no reason. Pay attention when her wardrobe sharpens overnight. When new shoes and accessories start piling up, when she invests in hairstyles that take more effort and carry a fresh message. The most telling clue, she reserves these changes for the office. This is not about vanity. It is about audience. If her extra effort is not aimed at you, then who is it meant to impress? Many times, a single compliment from a colleague can trigger a ripple effect. You look great in that color becomes an excuse to buy 3 more outfits in the same shade. A light-hearted remark about her hair turns into regular salon visits. What looks like self-care can in context signal directed attraction. Body language ties into this shift. Notice the perfume she wears before leaving for work, the careful makeup applied even on casual Fridays. It is not just about looking put together. It is about signaling availability, about creating an appealing presence for someone specific. You may also notice non-verbal cues when she interacts with that coworker. Leaning in closer, smiling more, eyes lingering longer. These behaviors paired with a sharp change in looks paint a clear picture. Do not dismiss this as harmless experimentation. People do not overhaul their style without motivation. A woman who suddenly invests this much energy into her appearance at work is not just dressing for herself. She is dressing for someone else's eyes. And that, my friend, is a red flag you cannot afford to ignore. Number 2. She brings up a specific coworker all the time. When a woman cannot stop weaving a man's name into everyday conversation, it is never random. Pay close attention to who keeps showing up in her stories. She talks about him after meetings, highlights his achievements, and shares little anecdotes that sound innocent but carry an undertone of admiration. The problem is not that she has colleagues. It is that this one colleague has become a permanent guest in your living room, even when he is not there. Listen for the excitement in her voice. Does her tone lift when she says his name? Does she retell his jokes or quote his opinions as if they carry special weight? These are not neutral mentions. They are signals of emotional investment. When she knows about his hobbies, his family, his weekend plans, she has crossed the line from professional acquaintance into personal bond. Another layer of danger appears when she starts comparing you to him. Maybe it is subtle. He's so organized with his projects, but comparison always cuts. It means she is holding you and him on the same scale and often placing him higher. That kind of repeated framing plants seeds of dissatisfaction. Do not get distracted if sometimes she downplays or avoids mentioning him. Overcompensation can take two forms: constant praise or sudden silence. Both are signs of a growing attachment she does not want you to notice. Understand this. When her co-worker's name becomes a recurring character in your daily conversations, you are not dealing with casual office chatter. You are witnessing the rise of an emotional connection that could evolve into something much deeper. That pattern alone should jolt you awake. Number 3. Her schedule starts. 2. Change in ways that don't add up. A stable routine is one of the easiest patterns to track. That is why sudden shifts stand out. When she begins staying late at the office more often, when unexpected meetings appear out of nowhere, or when business trips suddenly increase without clear explanation, you need to question the story you are being fed. Men often rationalize this. They tell themselves, she's just working hard or her company is demanding. But ask yourself, why now? Why the sudden urgency after years of predictable hours? Why the vague explanations when pressed for details? Ambiguity is not an accident. It is cover. Look at how she frames these changes. Does she throw out generic excuses like a project deadline without naming specifics? Does she dodge when you ask where the event is held, who is involved, or why she wasn't told earlier? These are not slips. They are strategies to keep you at arm's length. Also, notice the way technology slips into her schedule. Late-night messages, calls she takes in another room, a phone that used to be left on the table now travels everywhere with her. None of these behaviors exist in isolation, but together they sketch a pattern. Her time is being redirected, and where time goes, attention follows. Do not underestimate the meaning of absence. When her routine no longer belongs to both of you, but becomes a private orbit you cannot access, you're not just dealing with busyness, you are dealing with distance. And distance in relationships is the first symptom of betrayal taking root. Number 4. Her secrecy grows stronger than ever before. Transparency in a relationship is simple. When there is nothing to hide, nothing needs to be protected. But when secrecy begins to expand, you are staring at a shift that cannot be ignored. A woman who once left her phone on the couch now guards it like a state secret. She tilts the screen away, installs privacy filters, and suddenly remembers to change passwords that had been untouched for years. Notice how quickly this secrecy escalates. A text alert comes in, and she steps into another room. She answers calls with her back turned, voice lowered. Social media, interactions that once stayed public now vanish into deleted threads. The behavior is not about digital hygiene. It is about creating shadows where you cannot look. Defensiveness is another tell. Ask a simple question. Who was that? And the reaction is outsized. Irritation, accusations of jealousy, or a quick attempt to flip the script back on you. When her response is hotter than your inquiry, it is not because you crossed a line. It is because she is protecting something. Understand the psychology here. Secrets require energy to maintain. The more elaborate the secrecy, the higher the investment in keeping it alive. When she spends that much effort shielding parts of her life from you, she is not doing it casually. She is doing it because there is something or someone worth protecting. Secrecy is not neutral. It does not appear without cause. When the level of privacy in her daily routine starts to grow beyond reason, you are no longer just a partner in a relationship. You are an outsider looking in, and that shift is one of the clearest warning signs of betrayal unfolding right under your roof. Number 5. You stop getting invited to her work events. Work gatherings used to be open ground. Maybe she once asked you to come along to the holiday party, the happy hour, the team dinner. You were introduced, included, acknowledged as part of her life. But when the invitations dry up, when she suddenly claims it's just colleagues, nothing big, you are witnessing a calculated shift. Why does this matter? Because visibility is accountability. When you are present, other people know who you are and what role you play. When you are absent, there is space to rewrite that role. Excluding you from work, socials removes the witness stand. It gives her freedom to interact with someone else without the weight of your presence. Pay attention to the subtle justifications. It's boring. It's really just for the team. These excuses are meant to normalize your exclusion. But if you were once welcome and now you are not, the change is not casual. It is intentional. She is drawing a line around her work life and you are outside of it. There is also the emotional layer. Being cut out of that circle doesn't just reduce your access, it signals a deeper problem. She is curating two separate identities. In one, you exist as her partner. In the other, she is free to operate as though unattached. That division is fertile ground for betrayal because secrecy thrives where connection has been split. Understand this clearly. When your presence at her workplace events becomes inconvenient, for her, it is not about saving you from boredom. It is about saving herself from exposure. That choice alone should make you stop and reevaluate what story she is trying to protect and why she doesn't want you there to see it for yourself. Number 6. The physical evidence doesn't lie. At some point, suspicions move from feelings to facts. When objects, receipts, or gifts appear in your life without explanation, you are no longer dealing with imagination. You are dealing with evidence. A dinner receipt from a restaurant you never went to. A hotel charge that makes no sense. Jewelry or perfume that wasn't purchased by you and hasn't been accounted for by her. These are not harmless details. They are fragments of a hidden life. Understand the weight of physical clues. Unlike vague stories or shifting schedules, an item you can hold in your hand cannot be argued away so easily. That is why many women work hard to erase these traces, throwing out receipts, hiding gifts, or disguising them as work perks. When you do find something, it usually means there is more beneath the surface. Notice also the smaller signs. An unfamiliar jacket in her car, an extra phone charger that isn't hers, event tickets to places she never mentioned attending. Each one on its own could have an excuse. But patterns matter. When the pile grows, the story shrinks, and excuses cannot carry the weight of repeated evidence. Do not let her dismiss your awareness with words like "you're overthinking" or "that's nothing." Physical evidence is never nothing. It is the concrete residue of choices made out of your sight. And when you start seeing those residues, it means a boundary has already been crossed. The painful truth is this: you don't need to catch someone in the act to know betrayal has begun. The trail they leave behind tells its own story. And if you are willing to look at it honestly, that story will tell you more than her words ever will. What to do when the signs are in front of you. By now you've seen how the patterns build, the changes in her appearance, her conversations, her schedule, her secrecy, her social world, and the physical evidence. Seeing these signs is one thing. Knowing what to do next is what separates men who crumble from men who reclaim control. The first step is to document what you notice, not to play detective for the thrill, but to ground yourself in facts, dates, times, receipts, conversations. Emotions can cloud judgment. Records cut through the fog. When you confront, you want clarity, not chaos. Second, you must initiate a calm conversation. This is where most men lose control. They explode, accuse, and give her the upper hand by looking unstable. Don't do that. Sit down, look her in the eye, and use I statements. I found this receipt and it concerns me. This keeps the focus on the facts, not your rage. Third, ask for clarification. Give her the chance to explain, not because you are naive, but because fairness forces the truth to the surface. Sometimes there are legitimate reasons, more often there are not. Either way, you learn more by giving her space to speak than by shouting over her. Fourth, watch her reactions closely. Honest people explain with consistency. Dishonest people scramble, contradict, and lash out. Her reaction will tell you almost as much as her words. Look for defensiveness, evasion, or overcorrection. And be ready for the most common defense of all, gaslighting. Instead of answering your concern, she flips the spotlight back onto you. You're paranoid. You're just insecure. This is why I don't talk to you about work. These phrases are not explanations. They're weapons. The goal is to make you doubt your own judgment so she can escape accountability. Recognize it for what it is. If her response attacks your character instead of addressing the evidence, you're not hearing honesty. You're witnessing manipulation. The worst mistake a man can make is to fall for this tactic and start apologizing for simply asking questions. Don't hold steady, stay calm, and keep the focus on the facts in front of you. Finally, set boundaries and expectations. This is where your strength shows. You cannot control her choices, but you can control what you will and will not accept. Make transparency non-negotiable. Make respect mandatory. If she chooses to betray those terms, then she chooses the consequences. Understand this. Confronting betrayal is not about salvaging her approval. It is about protecting your dignity. You are not powerless. You are not at her mercy. You hold the right to demand truth, to enforce standards, and to walk away if those standards are broken. The hardest step is not gathering evidence or asking questions. The hardest step is having the courage to see clearly and act decisively. If she is honest, you will know. If she is unfaithful, you will also know. What matters most is that you stand firm in the one place no one can shake: your own boundaries. You've now seen the full picture. The office isn't just a place where projects get done. It can be the silent breeding, ground for betrayal, and when you look closely, the signs are there. Her sudden shift in appearance, the way she keeps bringing up a certain coworker, the late nights and vague excuses, the rise in secrecy, the shrinking of your place in her social circle, and finally the undeniable trail of physical evidence. These are not coincidences. They are patterns, and patterns speak louder than words. If you've connected the dots, you know where this road leads. Pretending not to see it won't protect you. Looking the other way won't buy you peace. Denial is the most expensive mistake a man can make in his relationship, because every day you ignore the truth. You trade away your dignity. But here's the other side of the trars. You are not helpless. You are not a victim unless you decide to be. When you document what you see, when you confront with calm strength, when you give her the chance to explain but refuse to tolerate lies, you take back control. When you set firm boundaries and mean them, you make it clear. You value your time, your respect, and your future too much to let anyone gamble with them. Cheating does not start with dramatic moments. It starts with small cracks, and the man who pays attention to those cracks gains the power to choose his response before it's too late. That's the lesson here. Not fear, but awareness. Not weakness, but strength. If this message hit you hard, it's supposed to, because men wake up when the truth stings. And if you want more truths that will keep you sharp, protect your peace, and help you navigate relationships without losing yourself, subscribe now. Hit that like button, share this with another man who needs to hear it, and drop a comment. Which sign do you think is the biggest red flag? The difference between betrayal breaking you or building you is simple. Stay blind and you break. Stay awake and you build. The choice is yours.